Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was assassinated because of his political views. We're living in a time of enormous division. Talk to me about the efforts of the FBI to go after the funders of the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, the pro-open border protests in cities, and potential LGBT violence. Talk to me about the efforts to go after the money of those who are funding and promoting violence. And I assume the FBI is investigating. It has also been reported that there were...
What kind of country cheers the assassination of a man just because he's conservative? You know, there was a time when if you wanted theater, you had to go to the Kennedy Center. Now, apparently, it was the Democrats leading the show, berating FBI Director Patel, not because he failed at his job, but because he actually did his job too well. That right there tells you everything about the state of our politics today. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered.
You know, I have to say, it used to be that to see theater, you had to go to the Kennedy Center. Now, apparently, you need only go to the Senate Judiciary Committee and see our Senate Democrats berating the director of the FBI, which, okay, it's not, partisan politics is not new in the United States Congress. But what is remarkable is what Senator Booker was berating Director Patel about. He wasn't berating him for failing to do his job, but rather he was furious for Director Patel for successfully doing his job. For 4 years, the Democrats under Joe Biden had an open border that undermined the safety of every single American. They allowed 12 million illegal aliens to come into this country to invade this country, and every single day Americans were murdered, women were raped, children were assaulted by violent criminals that Democrats released. Now, Director Patel, I found Senator Booker's questioning really bizarre. He asked you, have you reassigned FBI agents from human trafficking to immigration issues? Director Patel, are the Mexican cartels that are bringing people illegally into this country engaged in human trafficking?
Yes, sir.
What the hell does it mean to reassign someone from human trafficking to immigration? The greatest human trafficking that in the world has been over the last 4 years at our southern border. It is modern-day slavery that the Democrats still defend. They still defend those open borders. Mr. Patel, he also said, did you reassign FBI agents from protecting children to immigration? How many children have you found that were victimized by the open borders of the previous administration?
4,700.
4,700. And yet, oddly, I don't hear a Democrat here saying, gosh, thanks for protecting those kids.
35% increase year-to-date last year.
All right, I want to shift topics. And I want to shift topics to what happened last week. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was assassinated because of his political views. We're living in a time of enormous division and tragically hatred, and hatred that manifested in evil that we saw last week. Now, the FBI, working in concert with state and local law enforcement, apprehended what appears to be, in all likelihood, the murderer. And you did so in just 33 hours. So I want to start by just congratulating you and the FBI agents and state and local law enforcement for successfully apprehending the murderer in less than a day and a half. In the wake of that assassination, we have seen far too many people on the left celebrating the assassination. We've seen Democrats, we've seen activists cheering it on. We've seen, tragically, teachers in high schools, teachers in elementary schools, university professors cheering on the murder of Charlie Kirk. You and I both knew Charlie well. He was a good friend. He was an extraordinary man. And I will say there's a great deal of discussion about what to do about it. Under our Constitution, under the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, speech is protected. And that's true even for vile speech. Someone can stand up and say the most hateful thing, and it's protected by the First Amendment. Nazis and Klansmen can march in the streets, and even though their speech is bigoted and horrible and racist, the First Amendment protects it. Conduct however, is not protected by the First Amendment, particularly conduct that is violent. Violent conduct that is threatening others, that is harassing others, that is injuring or, in this case, murdering others, is most assuredly not protected by the First Amendment. And so I would encourage you and the FBI to focus on conduct. Now, speech can guide you to those engaged in conduct. And I will say one question that I have and many have, and I recognize this is an ongoing investigation, so I don't want you to say anything that would compromise the investigation. But what can you tell us at this point about what evidence there exists of other individuals who may have had prior knowledge of this assassin's plans to murder Charlie Kirk on September 10th?
Generally speaking, we've interviewed numerous people, family members and friends, including the partner, to provide us with a detailed history of the knowledge he may have had, the suspect may have had prior to. We are still mapping out who, if anyone, was involved as an accomplice. As I said, the investigation is ongoing. We're also speaking to and going to interview numerous individuals online who were part of a chat group that was involved in this heinous assassination. And we're also going to work with our state and local partners out in Utah to find out what community organizations, if any, participated or had any foreknowledge of this information. But it's very much ongoing. I remind everybody that it's not even been a week since Charlie's tragic death.
Is it accurate, it's been widely reported, that the assassin's roommate was a transgender man who was transitioning to be female, and it's also been reported that they may have been romantic partners? Is that accurate?
Yes, Senator.
And I assume the FBI is investigating. It has also been reported that there were transgender chat rooms that may have had some awareness of the plan to commit this murder. Is that accurate as well?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It's been reported that there were chat rooms of transgender activists that indicated some degree of potentially of foreknowledge of this murder.
We're still developing that.
Do you have any information the bullet casings had on them both Antifa and LGBT wording on them? Do you have any indication of the source of those engravings and what inspired them?
As to the actual source, we're still developing that.
I want to encourage you in the course of this investigation, absolutely go after anyone who aided and abetted. But I want to more broadly encourage you, follow the money. The violence we are seeing is not purely organic. There is, I believe, significant money that is spreading dissension, that is spreading violence. Antifa. Do you believe Antifa is a terrorist organization?
I believe Antifa is associated with a lot of violence in this country. As to its designation, I'll leave that to the appropriate authorities.
So I would encourage the administration to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization, to go systematically after Antifa. They've committed acts of violence all over the country. And the shell casings have multiple references to slogans that Antifa has popularized. I believe there is considerable money funding it. I would note that I've introduced legislation called the Stop Funders Act. Stop Funders Act would add rioting to the list of predicate offenses under RICO. I believe the money should be tracked and prosecuted under RICO. And both the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots of a couple of years ago and the pro-open border riots in Los Angeles and other cities of this past year, I believe there was significant money behind those riots. I'm not the only person who noticed at the anti-Semitic protest and violent protests on college campuses that many of the tents all matched. And so I would ask, would it aid your ability to prosecute these matters if Congress passed into law the Stop Funders Act and if rioting was added to the list of predicate offenses for RICO?
Yes.
Talk to me about the efforts of the FBI to go after the funders of the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, the pro-open border protests in cities, and potential LGBT violence. Talk to me about the efforts to go after the money of those who are funding and promoting violence.
As I've always said, Senator, money doesn't lie, and we've been following the money. And so that's what we're doing, issuing lawful process to organizations involved with criminal activity, because the money's got to come from somewhere and it has to be funded somehow. So we have extensive investigations ongoing into numerous organizations that are related to violent criminal activity.
Cutting off the money will make America much safer, and that is the core job of the FBI. And I thank you for doing your.
Let's cut to the chase. For 4 long years under Joe Biden, this country has been ripped apart by an open border policy that Democrats still defend to this day. 12 million illegal aliens have poured into the United States. 12 million. That's not immigration. That's an invasion. And with it came violence, chaos, and tragedy. Americans murdered, women raped, children assaulted. And the left still has the audacity to stand there and pretend this is compassion. They call it humane. I call it criminal negligence. And then there's Senator Cory Booker, a man who seems more upset that the FBI is actually fighting human trafficking than that human trafficking even exists. He asked Director Patel if agents were being reassigned from human trafficking cases to immigration cases. And Patel hit him with the truth. The Mexican cartels bringing people illegally across our border are engaged in human trafficking. So tell me, how in the hell is that a reassignment? That's the same fight. It's the same war. The greatest human trafficking crisis on earth is happening right now at our southern border. It's modern-day slavery, and Democrats are defending it. Let that sink in. And here's the kicker. Patel revealed that over 4,700 children have been victimized because of these open border policies. That's a 35% spike in just 1 year. Where's the outrage? Where's the thank you from Democrats for saving those kids? Nowhere. Because to them, politics comes before people. Always. Now, I wish I could stop there, but the hearing took an even darker turn. Charlie Kirk, a man I admired deeply, a bold conservative voice who refused to back down, was assassinated. Murdered in cold blood for his political beliefs. And while his family grieves and patriots across the nation mourn, the left celebrates. Teachers, activists, even professors cheering on his death. That's the level of hatred festering in America right now, and it's being fueled by a toxic left-wing culture that dehumanizes anyone who dares to disagree with them. I will say this. The FBI deserves credit for capturing the suspected assassin in just 33 hours. That's remarkable. But this is just the beginning. This wasn't some lone wolf who snapped one day. There are online chat groups, networks, possibly even accomplices who knew what was coming. And if that's true, then every single one of them must face justice. There are disturbing details here. Reports say the suspect's roommate, a transgender man transitioning to female, may have been romantically involved and could have known about the plot. There's talk of transgender chat rooms discussing the attack. Bullet casings with Antifa and LGBT slogans engraved on them. Folks, this isn't random. This isn't isolated. This looks organized. And if that's the case, then it's time we stop treating Antifa like some idea and start calling them what they are, a domestic terrorist organization. Now here's the part nobody in the media wants to talk about. This violence isn't just spontaneous rage, it's funded. It's orchestrated. There's real money behind it. You don't get coordinated riots, identical protest tents on campuses, and synchronized chaos without someone signing checks. And yet, the media yawns. The Democrats look the other way. They need this chaos to divide and control. This is why Senator Cruz and others are pushing the Stop Funders Act, which would treat rioting as a predicate offense under RICO, the same laws we use to take down the mob. That means we could finally go after the funders, the organizers, the puppet masters pulling the strings behind Antifa, behind Black Lives Matter riots, behind these pro-open border mobs in Los Angeles and beyond. And Patel admitted it himself. Money doesn't lie. The FBI is following the money, and that's exactly what they need to do. Because once you cut off the funding, you choke the movement. And when you choke the movement, you save lives. Let's call this what it is. America is under siege from within. The left has opened our borders, undermined our safety, and now they're shrugging while political assassinations happen in broad daylight. They protect violent mobs while demonizing law enforcement. They cry about democracy while celebrating the death of a man who dared to speak his mind. We are at a turning point, patriots. This isn't about left versus right anymore. This is about good versus evil, order versus chaos, liberty versus tyranny. And we have to decide whether we're going to sit back and watch this country burn, or whether we're going to stand up and fight back. It's time to secure our borders. It's time to hold violent extremists accountable, no matter what flag they wave or what slogans they chant. It's time to follow the money, expose the funders, and dismantle these radical networks before they destroy what's left of this republic. Charlie Kirk believed in this country. He believed in our freedom, our values, and our future. If we want to honor him and every other patriot silenced by hate, then we owe it to them to fight harder than ever before. Because America is worth it. This is Prodigy Unfiltered. Like, share, subscribe, and stay in the fight. God bless America.